right, we will go ahead and call the Becker City Council meeting of February 16th, 2021 to order. If everyone could rise for the pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Has council had the opportunity to review the meeting minutes from February 2nd? And if so, how would you like to proceed?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of February 2nd.
I'll second it.
Motion from Robin, second from Mike. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor can state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Any changes to this evening's agenda? If not, I'll ask for a motion to approve the set agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Motion from Rick, second from Becky. Those in favor can state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Guest and open forum. Guest and open forum this evening. Mike is on? No? All right, we're moving on. I will ask council for a motion to be made into a closed session for a closed meeting under Minnesota State Statute 13D.05, subsection 2B, to consider an allegation or complaint against an employee subject to city authority.
This is Rick. I make a motion to move into closed session.
I'll second that.
Motion from Rick, second from Mike. Those in favor can state aye.
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 We will go into closed session at 5:02. Mr. Lepek, are we okay to proceed?
We have to remove everybody from the chambers or remove the council from the chambers into remote location, so.
All right. We will remove council and go to the said old chambers.
What? Sound like some music going on.
Everyone has returned. All right, I will go ahead and reopen the meeting at 5:43 p.m. And Scott, did you want to say anything, or you're good to let us go?
At this point, council has had their closed meeting. They've engaged in their deliberations, and it indicated that they were ready to make a determination in this matter. At that point, we concluded discussion in the closed meeting. Council is now back in open meeting, and we would be awaiting any action council deems appropriate. If council deems action appropriate, it would be in the form of a motion.
All right, and how will council like to proceed in this matter?
I'll make a motion to terminate employee Heather Slago for the reasons outlined in the notice of intent to discharge.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a motion from Rick, second from Mike. Those in favor can state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And Robin, you have abstained.
Abstained.
Okay.
Thank you.
Motion passes. Okay. Committee reports. Personnel met last week, the 5th of February, and all the items that we discussed are in tonight's agenda packet. We talked about the telecommuting and wellness policies, as well as the sick leave policy, inserting the word life-altering. And then we also discussed the RFP for compensation study, which is also in our packet for this evening that Julie will be going over. How about EDA?
EDA, we met last Monday. We had a market update on the housing in Becker. Within the city, just to kind of, we've heard that the inventory is low, but just to kind of tell you how low the numbers are, there was one home within the 55308 zip code that was on the market without an offer pending on it right now, of any price range. Within the, if you expanded it to the Becker School District, we jumped to 3.
Oh,
When we say, inventory is low of homes, and that was a week ago, so who knows where that's at now. So when we say inventory is low, that's,
that's remarkable. That's wow.
yeah. So, we had, a lot of, discussion, there was updates after that, we talked about the, bonding bill project, the community energy transition grants, so we had some discussion on solar, the comp plan update, went through some of that, and then the, regional, planning partnership, those are some updates and discussion, and then also the RFP, 9 Bravo that we have tonight, on our agenda there, that was discussed, I'm sorry, not, 9 Bravo, the housing study,
On the exec session.
yes, that's, yeah. Yes, that was, discussed as well.
All right. Mike, do you want to do Public Works or shall I?
Sure, Public Works, we discussed our sidewalk snow removal ordinance, and it's gonna be updated, make it a little bit easier for people to be aware of what's happening.
Well, it's removing the word ice.
Well, yeah, but there's procedures are gonna be updated also. So that'll be coming forward. Recycle Day is still set. Northern Metals in favor of having the collection over there. Staff is looking into seeing if that's gonna be possible to do. We will not be taking garbage. Al decided not to retire till next year. So that's a plus. We discussed truck routes, which is something I brought up some time ago. And I've decided to, after discussing with Al, everything that's going on, I decided to drop the issue for now.
The what?
For truck routes. Remember I complained about semis going down residential
Oh,
streets?
yeah.
It's something that's very difficult to, if you do have a policy, it's very difficult to enforce, so. I'm just dropping the whole idea for the time being. Let's see. Water operations. We got some stuff coming up tonight, on wastewater that staff will be presenting, for action. That's pretty much it.
Yep.
Don't want to spend a whole lot of time.
All right, any other committee reports that we missed? None. We'll go on to board, committee, and consultant reports. With a cooperative local road improvement project grant application with Mr. Knutson.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. In front of you tonight, we do have the local road improvement project, as the Mayor mentioned. What this is, Becker Township reached out to us, or actually to our engineer, regarding this street. And the township is looking at construction possibly 2022. If this grant that we would apply for together gets done, construction has to take place by 2023. So 97th Street, for those who aren't familiar with it, it's our farthest northern street. Most ask why it's a city street. It comes right before just south of the bridge on County Road 23 and takes you out to Autumn Ridge on Johnson. And our responsibility goes from 23 all the way out to Autumn Ridge Road, where the township takes over at that point. The township controls from Autumn Ridge Road to 25 and 53, I think it is. There's another section there. And it's also Clear Lake Township. It has from County Road 53 to Highway 10. So there's 3 different jurisdictions that are looking to apply for this grant, with Becker Township taking the lead. So tonight, what we have is just asking for your approval by resolution that we could submit with the grant to support that endeavor. And if we get the grant, we do have that road listed at, like I said, in 2023. It is in tough shape. We could play around with the years if the grant is awarded, and we need to disperse funds sooner than that. We would take a look at that and just alternate our CIP and push a street out or pull one back in. But if we're talking about $400,000 per entity, that would be awarded for that grant, maybe a little less for Clear Lake Township. But for our portion, we're right about $400,000 for that road. So when you're looking about 30% of the road cost or so, based on today's dollars, we think it's worthwhile to try and pursue this. Again, by doing this, it doesn't bind us into anything other than we're showing our support with our intent to do the road work together. So with that, I'll entertain any questions, should you have them.
I think it's a great opportunity to merge or show support to our other jurisdictions that we often ask support for, especially in a grant process. This doesn't lock us into doing that road. It doesn't lock us into anything, but just offering our support for the project, so.
Yeah, I agree, and working with, Becker Township, we always joke that we're just Becker, and people kind of blur those lines. So that is a highly traveled road in our community. There's a lot of school district traffic that goes on there as well. So I think it could be very beneficial for the community if we could do it all at one shot. But obviously funding township level is tough to come by as well. So by putting this together, we have a better shot of maybe succeeding.
I do have one question. We talked about this at Public Works, but you talked about if they potentially upgraded the road, we might not want to be involved. And if that's the case, would it prevent the township from doing their part up to ours, or would that create an issue for them?
I think the township, and that's a great point, Mike, that we talked about, the MnDOT standards that it would come to, the road surface, the width of the surface may have to go to 30 feet or 32 feet versus a 24-foot road surface. We would propose that this should be a 10-ton road, regardless of width of road. But if it goes to 30 feet, we would have to see if the project price increases too much and the grant doesn't even cover the cost of the price increase. It doesn't make any sense for us to do
No, but
that.
what I'm getting at is, let's say that happens,
Right.
and so we don't, is that gonna affect the township?
The township is still gonna look at doing their portion of that. We would just look to neck it down and keep it an urban section in the city portion of the street.
So it'd go narrow road, wide road.
Potentially.
crossed over.
Potentially.
The other thing, that particular, our part of that is, there's not a lot of room there.
That's the whole thing, the easement and the slopes, and also the curves have to be flattened out because you need to maintain that. One of the standards that has to be a 40-mile-an-hour road from start to finish is a MnDOT standard. And they've got two pretty big curves out there that they'd have to kind of pull into farmers' fields that they would be working on as well. So that's why, as a city, I made it very clear that we support this project. We don't want to lead this project, though, because there's more work from their side of it than our side of it. So we'll just kind of see if you have support tonight, we'll see where it goes, and then we'll come back for engineering should we get to that point.
But I do think we should support the grant application.
Okay, thank you.
I make a motion that we enter into this agreement for this grant application.
Would you like to approve Resolution 2111?
Yeah, resolution 2111, that will work just fine.
Excellent.
I'll second that.
So a motion from Mike and a second from Robin. Any other discussion? Hearing none, those in favor can state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. RFP for job classification and total compensation study. Ms. Bleasy.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So staff has been working on a request for a proposal for a compensation study for the city of Becker. This was budgeted for in 2021, if you remember, and highlights of the attached RFP include a new classification system for job positions, update to job description templates, completing the required pay equity report in 2022, and an alternative pay structure for part-time seasonal employees to standardize it across all departments. Optional services that we're requesting are completing all future pay equity reports for the city, a review of new and revised job descriptions annually as they take place, and then completing a wage and labor market survey annually for implementation and recommendation to council for a general wage increase across all grades and steps each year. Personnel did review it and recommended proceeding with the RFP, so I'll take any questions. Otherwise, a motion and second for approval to send out the RFP.
So is this is similar to what we did with Springstead about 5 years ago, similar type thing?
Correct.
I think it was longer than 5 years.
Was it?
Adam Oliver was still here.
Oh, Well, then that'd be longer than 5, yeah.
How would council like to proceed on this matter?
Make a motion to approve, to send out the RFP for job classification and total compensation study.
I'll second.
Motion from Rick, second from Becky. Any other discussion? Hearing none, those in favor can state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Fourth quarter financials for 2020 with Mrs. Robinson.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So before you are the fourth quarter financials for 2020. And so a couple of noteworthy items. Total revenue exceeded the 2020 budgeted amounts by about $785,000. 366,000 is because of the CARES funding. And so that's a major contributor to that overage. Golf revenues were positive. Community center were not positive, so those kind of pulled in different directions. But then overall, water and domestic and industrial water, or industrial wastewater funds were ahead of the budgeted revenues. Total expenditures were lower than budgeted by about $553,000. And so cost control measures were effective, you know, in the COVID restrictions that were placed on the city for the year. Water and domestic sewer funds together performed lower than their budgeted expenditures on that also. Budget and Finance reviewed these December financials on January 21st. And now staff is working on those reconciliation entries and preparing for the annual audit, which will take place the week of March 29th. And so if there's any questions, I can answer them. Otherwise, there's no motion.
Sounds like no questions, Connie.
All right.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right, administrator and staff reports. Call for a public hearing in general obligation street reconstruction bonds. Mrs. Robinson.
Thank you again. So during our 2020 budget process, several street reconstruction projects were identified within a 5-year time frame with significant funding needs with those projects. So further detailed study of these potential projects by Public Works, Finance, city staff, and engineering consultants, they identified that these projects, accelerating these projects into a condensed time frame would be of a benefit to the city. So benefits are twofold. So first, the cost savings that can be achieved with getting these projects done in a more accelerated fashion so that we can avoid inflation on construction costs. And also we can mitigate the risk of further delamination and deterioration of these roads, which could lead to more than a street reconstruction project. Second area of benefit is accelerating is the historically low interest costs. And so with the current rates available to the city based on our current credit rating, they make these funds available at a lower borrowing cost. And so Table A demonstrates the 5-year reconstruction plan. And so you'll see that on Table A, the total projects for the 5-year plan is $13.1 million, and the recommended issuance amount of those bonds would be $8.6 million. The amount above the 8.6 will be covered during the regular capital improvement levy process. And then one other item I wanted to point out, so budgetary impacts. So our debt service currently is about $911,000. And that'll be retired down to $25,000 in 2022. So with the new bonding, we're at about $979,900. So there's a minimal difference in the overall debt levy from year to year as a result of this debt issuance. And so a motion is second to call for a public hearing on March 2nd, 2021, to consider the proposal to adopt a 5-year reconstruction plan and the intent to issue the $8.6 million in general obligation street reconstruction bonds would be appreciated, and I can take any questions.
I can't think of any questions because we have talked to death about this issue. So,
Yeah. Done asking questions.
like, this has been on council's agenda since January?
For this year.
Yeah, for this year, but we've talked about it before, so I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been talking about it a long time.
We started
Yes.
modeling in September and we talked about it before that, so.
yes, yes,
Yeah, we talked about it during budget.
yeah, we did, yep.
So with that, I'll make a, March 2nd,
March 2nd.
I make a motion, we have a public hearing, March 2nd, for general obligation bonds for street reconstruction.
I'll second.
Motion from Mike, second from Rick. Any other discussion? Hearing none, those in favor can state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Consent agenda, Mr. Przinski.
Mayor, City Council, thank you. Consent agenda for February 16th, 2021. 9 items. I'll briefly go through them quick. Item number 1, hiring and termination reports for Pebble Creek Golf Club and Becker Community Center. Item number 2 is donation acceptance, and that's a resolution 21-10. That is a generous donation from the Eddy Foundation for police equipment. Item number 3 is amendment number 4 to the antenna lease between the City of Becker and Sprint Spectrum. And that comes to you through resolution 21-09. One slight change to the language, including the words "and microwave dish." So I know we've seen this before, that's why it's on the consent agenda. Item number 4, partial pay request number 6. That's to Knife River. And that's for the 2019 Bituminous Street and Trail improvements. If you remember the construction contract amount, $1 million,
$8,000?
$8,793.66. Thank you, Rick. This pay request, $50,931.42, which leaves a contract amount of $89,402.54. Item number 5, and this has been referenced earlier in the meeting, change to our personnel policy. It's an update, sick leave donation, adding the words life-altering. We're trying to make that a little bit more flexible for our employees. Remember that sick leave donation policy, we can have employees that donate to other employees that need that sick leave. Item number 6, also referenced earlier, Safety Committee funding and approval for expenditure policy. This is something, I'm just gonna take one moment and talk a little bit about Safety Committee funding and approval. So we've got a Safety Committee we have for many years. They've done a great job. The one thing that we've not done a great job is funding them for various initiatives. And I just wanna point out in section 2.2.1, this is far more than just an internal safety committee. They are a safety committee for our employees, obviously, and our risk modifier certainly shows that, it's well below 1. But they're also a safety committee for our residents and public safety, and I fully support that. They do need the resources to be able to run that program. So item number 7, a telecommuting policy. Trying to set expectations, manage expectations for employees that do qualify for a telecommuting program. Item number 8, also referenced earlier, and this supersedes a wellness policy that we had approved in 2016. Funding from that comes from our revolving capital insurance fund. And item number 9 is certification of adoption for the City of Becker water supply plan. And just so our residents know, we're digging 2 wells on some recently acquired property. As part of that process, we have to renew and or update our city water supply plan That has been accomplished. The last step is to get in front of city council for action and signatures. So lots of cool stuff on our consent agenda. If you have questions, I'll try to answer them. Or I'll have Rick do it for me. So,
8,000.
any questions? Otherwise, a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I will second that.
Motion from Rick, second from Robin. Any other discussion? Hearing none, those in favor can state aye.
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 Opposed? Carried. God, I almost said Tracy, aye. Oh, so.
I did earlier.
So much, I know.
Payment of the bills.
I will make a motion to pay the bills.
I'll second.
Motion from Robin, second from Becky. Any discussion on the bills? Hearing none, those in favor can state aye.
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 Opposed? Carried. Does council have anything else for the betterment of Becker? I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
Motion from Mike, second from Rick. Those in favor can state aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.